Pittsburgh Steelers fans, welcome back to the Scho Bro Show. This is Behind the Steel Curtain. Editor Dave Schofield coming at you on a Tuesday night at 9 p.m. We're back to our regular time, and I'm with me, as always, is the Big Bro Show. Rich, how you doing tonight?
No. No.
Yeah.
No. You told me you were going to do something different. No. That's not how it's supposed to work.
That's exactly how it's supposed to work.
No.
We'll get to that in a second. We'll get to that in a moment.
No.
I caught you off guard. I'm waiting for I'm waiting for the response you're supposed to give me.
No. You started it. I will end it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, Rich, how you doing tonight?
His name is Joseph Scobert.
No, actually, for those of you who are wondering what we're doing, we kind of went ahead with the alternate pronunciation of our last name. In other words, how everybody screws it up. That who wants to call us Schofield, in honor of new Pittsburgh Steelers linebacker Joe Schobert. The Big Show, Joe the Show. And we have an open invitation out there for the show must go on to come on the Scho Bro Show, which will then be the Scho Bro Show if he's on with us.
No, because his name will be Joe Scho Bro.
Joe Scho Bro.
All right.
Yeah, or we have to spell it the Scho Bro Show, but it's SCHO to finish it up. Anyway, Rich, now I'll give you a chance to do it again. How you doing tonight?
You ruined it. No, I'm not.
All right.
I'm not doing it now because you messed it up.
I didn't mess it up. We were giving shout outs to the newest Steelers linebacker, and I did reach out to him to let him know, hey, if you ever want to come on and have your Steelers podcast debut, come on the Scho Bro Show so you can join in with us right then. So
there you go.
Rich, we got lots to talk about.
You and I, you know what? When we will talk, because last week you and I together got to breathe in the sweet smell of victory.
Come on, I was going to say you can't let everyone down and not do that.
I had to do it, but I had to do it on my terms because you messed it all up.
Well, no, I mean, if you can call what we were doing breathing in that, oh my goodness, was it hot last Thursday night?
It was very warm here last Thursday night.
Yes, it was. But I was able to travel up and watch the game with you. For those of you who caught the post-game show, you saw me sitting where Rich is sitting right now. So
with Kyle's deer head in the background.
And I have to admit, that deer head, for the way those computer screens work, it does not look that large while we're sitting here. But standing next to it, my goodness, it's a nice one. It really is. See, now that you put it in
perspective after I get the,
put it in perspective. And what's great is because it's the black and gold. That's what Kyle picked out, and it looks fantastic.
He went to black and gold specifically for Steelers. Of course, our taxidermy folks, when Kyle was talking, he wanted it black and gold. She was like, "You mean like black and yellow, like the Steelers?" And he was like, "Yes." She's like, "I can make it look like the Steelers." So
yes, absolutely.
I got to put it back.
Well, Rich, we've got a lot to catch up on while you go ahead and put that back up there. I don't know if you'll be able to hear me or not, but we have last week's game to talk about. But before we got to talk about a little bit of news. Of course, we had during the game we were sitting there together watching, and that's when the Joe Schobert news was coming on across on Twitter.
The Slack
channel. And I didn't realize this until I spoke to Brian and Jeff in the post-game show, because most people that were watching, anyone who got the game on NFL Network, this is a quick reminder that when you watch NFL Network games or the games on NFL Network, they go with the home team's broadcasting team. So a lot of people, like if you have NFL Game Pass, you were getting the Eagles broadcast, which on the replay, when I watched it, I was dealing with the Eagles broadcast. And I'm like, I understand why everyone's frustrated. We had the Pittsburgh broadcast. It was
we just gonna listen there, Stan Savard and old man Batch down there, you know.
No, it wasn't Stan Savard. It was actually Bob Pompiani.
I know,
but I know you were quoting your Pittsburgh dad. But they talked about the trade during the game. They brought it up, and that's how we knew that it was good to go. And then there was various reports. It was reported that Jacksonville was going to send some money with him, and then everyone started to dismiss that. And then guess what? Jacksonville sent money with him. They basically paid for half his salary for this year, and then the Steelers restructured as much as they could, down to a $1.88 million salary cap hit. When you're looking for how it changes the salary cap now, after displacement, it was $1.03 million is all it cost the Steelers, and a 6th-round draft pick, which is interesting because the Steelers don't have a 4th because they traded it for a 5th this year. The Steelers don't have their 5th because they traded it to the Jets last year for Avery Williamson, but they did pick up a 7th from the Jets. So they didn't lose a pick. It just changed which round it was in order to have Williamson last year. And then now their 6th-round picks. So all the Steelers have right now, before compensatory picks, is 2 7th-round picks on day 3. That's all they have on day 3 right now. So that's pretty good. But the other big news we do want to mention, because a lot of people, holding their, you're breathing in that sweet smell of victory from Thursday. But bottom line is, a lot of Steelers Nation was collectively holding their breath at the end of practice today when one wide receiver, Chase Claypool, went down and did not go off the field under his own power. He had to be helped to the locker room by Ben Roethlisberger and Eric Ebron. Luckily, reports are already out that it's not a high ankle sprain. It's just a low ankle sprain. He's going to be out. I have a feeling we're not going to see him this week. I don't even know if they were going to play him or not the next week. It all depends. But bottom line is, he should not be missing significant time that's going to affect the regular season. We might know a little bit more tomorrow from Coach Tomlin, but I doubt he really says anything because that's just what he does. But it's not anything that looks like it's going to require extensive time. Rich, had you heard about that, or did you hear about that he was okay by the time you heard that? I had heard
about it. By the time I heard he was hurt, I was also seeing that it was not serious.
Exactly. So I had a feeling that a lot of people were like that, but there were some out there that were like, oh, and even that's all right.
I can hear Coach Tomlin tomorrow when he's asked about it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Coach Tomlin will do something like, "Who? What are you talking about? Wide receiver? What?" Oh. He's like, "Man, I don't know." He said, "That room's so crowded in there right now. I don't know what's going on."
I would love for him to joke like that. It all depends on how practice goes, on what you're going to get from Coach Tomlin. We were surprised. We thought we were going to get a Tomlin Tuesday. We thought we were going to get the regular press conference, and we were ready for it in case we did, but we did not. So I don't know that we're going to hear from Coach Tomlin in the regular, sit down setting like you would get after a game that he usually does on Tuesdays, because the Steelers this week were treating today like Wednesday, because they play Saturday. They were basically trying to keep this as a regular NFL week. They practiced today. They were in their pads, and luckily everything's all right with Mr. Claypool. So let's what we're going to talk about now. This is what we do on this show. We talk about last week's game, and then we move on to talk a little bit more about next week's game. And because it's the preseason, we might break this down a little bit more when it comes to last week's game. But trust me, we still have plenty to talk about with the game coming up on Saturday. But we're going to talk about everything. But one thing specifically we're going to mention is the offensive line. And it's interesting, Rich. Do you remember how we were feeling sitting there at halftime? How did you feel sitting there at halftime?
At halftime, I was sitting there feeling that we're out playing the Eagles and we're losing. That's how I felt.
Yeah, I understand what you mean. I felt like, man, The sack on Mason Rudolph looked bad, and that was I thought it at first. I thought it was Javon Hargrave because I heard that name thrown out there, but he was already out of the game by then. It was their other I think that the nose tackle behind him on the depth chart, and I was a little bit concerned about that. And I'm like, well, the offensive line, they're looking okay, but what did we say about the offensive line when it came to the second half there, Rich?
I think the way I put it was that the left side of the line of Kevin Dotson and Dan Moore Jr. were men playing amongst boys. I think is the way I put it, wasn't it?
Yes.
or they were the varsity playing the JV or something like that.
And then so we had Jalen Samuels ripping off 10-yard runs as they're funneling the edge rushers out and just bulldozing the middle of the field. And what was your comment on that one? On Mr. Knee-jerk reaction article?
I said, gee whiz, doesn't matter who the Steelers put back out there to run. They could put Myron Cope back there to run, and he's been gone for how many years, and he'd gained 10 yards.
Yeah. I mean, they were opening some pretty impressive holes. Now, you've got to put it in context. You got to remember that not only are you saying, well, it was so our twos are better than their twos. Yeah, I mean, you could kind of say that. But the other thing you have to remember is think about how much the Steelers are basically, by playing in the Hall of Fame game, it feels like they're just treating this like they would a normal 4-game preseason, like they would have in 2019, 2018, 2017. So that's kind of what they were doing. So therefore, they were in game 2 mode, while the Eagles, of course, were in game 1 mode. Yeah. So therefore, their starters on defense, like their defensive line, they played one series. So the Steelers' starting offensive line went up against the starting defensive line and then the next guys. And then the reserves, if I was trying to look at it as much as I could to try. I don't know the Eagles players enough. I was trying to note and everything else. I think the reserves got a little bit of the 2s and then the 3s, if you know what I mean.
That's what it looked to be.
Yeah. So my biggest thing is which offensive line should the Steelers fans expect come the regular season? Or is it going to be more like the first half offensive line where I'm like, these guys aren't doing terrible. They're not blowing anyone away, but they're doing a fairly nice job. Gave up a bad sack, had some good running plays, but unfortunately some of the best running plays were called back on holds. Which for those of you that did have the Philadelphia broadcasters, the second one, they did not agree with. That should have been called a hold. But then you had the second half offensive line, and you're just like, there is no way, even if you didn't know much about football, there is no way you could watch the second half of that game and that offensive line not stand out the way that it did. Do you think that's a safe assumption?
I think so. I mean, yeah.
I mean, the third quarter, Dwayne Haskins had all day to throw, and they could basically run the ball at will, So they were just getting at it.
I got a question to ask you.
Okay.
I posed this question at our father earlier tonight when he was wanting to talk about the game. So he didn't know how to answer. He wasn't sure how to answer it.
Okay.
But I'd like to see some other things in the game, the next 2 preseason games, because it would maybe help me out. Okay. You and I have often talked throughout last year and even into camp and stuff this year. We have felt that Kevin Dotson is not only a good offensive lineman, but for some reason, when he is in the game, the guys next to him play better.
Yep, I had this as a talking point for us tonight, so I'm glad you brought it up.
Yes. So do you also then not find it that surprising that Dan Moore Jr. and J.C. Hassenauer looked as good as they did?
You know what?
With Kevin Dotson on the line? I mean, that's really something to think about.
That is something to think about. So part of me almost wants to be like, well, you got to look at this then. I think the grand total count was, I gotta try to find it here. That because it was Rashad Coward played 15 snaps, and where's someone like, I'm looking for Kendrick Green. He played 20. Kevin Dotson did come in with the starting line as the first sub. Okay. He played 5 snaps with that group. So he played 5 snaps next to Kendrick Green and Chukwuezekorfor. But then he really settled in next to J.C. Hassenauer and Dan Moore Jr. So I understand what you're saying. So the question is, what should we expect?
I'd like to see the lines get mixed up a little bit here and there. Like, I want to see Dotson play more with the ones, which I expect we'll probably see.
Which he stepped right into on practice on Sunday. Finally.
And then I would like to see how the likes of Dan Moore and J.C. Hassenauer are then playing when Kevin Dotson is not the guy beside them.
Yeah, and not only that, Coach Tomlin talked about this, I think it was Sunday, because I don't think it was today. I'm pretty sure it was Sunday, that Dan Moore Jr. looking good. This week,
yes, he is. He's
going to be looking at right tackle. They want to see if he can be their swing tackle.
Yeah.
Which I understand. And you know what? They might find out that he's just as good on the right side. They might also find out that he is only a left tackle.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying? It could be if Dan Moore Jr., let's say when it's all said and done, would be ahead of the other tackles like Joe Haig. Let's just say it stays Banner and Okorafor. Let's say it stays there. Then it goes Dan Moore Jr., and then it's the next guy. I'm to a point almost that if Dan Moore Jr. doesn't show that he's can do as well on the right side, but something happened where you would be without Zach Banner for some time, I'd be tempted to put Okorafor back over to the right and put more at the left.
Yep, I agree.
I don't know if that's going to be the case, but that's what they want to see. That's what they want to see. I think that's what they're looking for. And it's funny because some people are like, oh, that might make Haig expendable. Joe Haig, I wouldn't go that far because I'll go ahead and tell you all this. In order for Hartman and I to get a little bit more information, I went ahead and for temporarily upgraded the information that I can get from Pro Football Focus and their scores. What's crazy is that if you're looking at blocking grades for the preseason, in case you all aren't, this is across the entire NFL. Two teams have 2 games. Everyone else has 1 game. If you look at the overall blocking score, Kevin Dotson's number 1. I did an article about this, that not only does he have the highest blocking score of anyone this preseason, his game against the Eagles, his score, which was a 94.5, was better than anybody's season score on the entire offensive line last year. And then I went through week by week just of guards, and there was only 3 performances in all of 2020 that had a higher grade than what Dotson got Thursday night, and 2 of them were Wyatt Teller from Cleveland. So that's interesting to know. But what's crazy is when you break them out by run blocking and pass blocking, Dotson is not the highest in the NFL at run blocking. He's actually 4th. But other than that, he's not the highest stealer. Do you know who the number 1 ranked run blocking offensive lineman is in the NFL through
Well, yes, so you've given it away with your, saying somebody and then the long prelude is Joe Haig.
It's Joe Haig, isn't that crazy? Now his pass blocking has still some to be desired, but he's got a 93.9 run blocking grade. That's crazy. That's insane. Mm-hmm. I did not expect that. So for those of you thinking, they could just if Dan Moore's doing well, then they can cut loose Joe Haig. It looks like it. Both of these guys, should be there in case there's a problem with the other tackles. Now, granted, they haven't gone up against the stiffest competition, although Haig, he's been the starter at right tackle because Banner hasn't played. So that's a little bit crazy to talk about. But one thing that I didn't get to say from practice today, because I wanted to wait till we started talking about offensive line. First thing I want to say was, let's talk Kendrick Green, because he missed the Steelers' last two practices. He missed Saturday and Sunday. Yeah, it might have been Saturday when Tomlin said that about Moore. I can't remember. But he missed Saturday and Sunday, excused by Coach Tomlin, something going on. He came back today, and he was right back in with the ones.
Mm-hmm.
And Coach Tomlin was asked after practice, he's like, does that mean he's the guy? And Coach Tomlin's, I'll give you his exact quote. He says, you could surmise that, but there will be no bold announcements. So in other words, he said, yeah, he's the guy going there.
Yeah.
So they had Kendrick Green. Because of him coming back, and now Okorafor being there and Banner being there, today's practice was the first practice of those 5 guys who you believe are going to start off the season as the Steelers offensive line, or at least that's what they thought it would be going into camp. Here it is, August 17th. This was the first day they were out there together, where it was Chuks Okorafor, Kevin Dotson, Kendrick Green, Trey Turner, and Zach Banner. I want to see that Saturday. I want to see how they do. And I think that they have guys behind them that are pushing them. Seeing that line do so well in the second half is only going to make the other offensive linemen better if they've got guys nipping at their heels. Don't you think so?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's exactly what I think. That's what, Chooks and Banner should be looking at Dan Moore Jr. and saying, and Joe Haig and saying, you know what, if we don't keep our game high enough, they got guys that they'll put in there for us.
Yeah. 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 I agree. And like you say, J.C. Hassenauer, he's been playing much better than he did in 2020. Yes. Now, maybe it's because he's playing, he hasn't been out there with the starting unit either time. So he's not playing the players that you would assume to be the best that you're getting from the other team. But it's allowed him to get comfortable and show, I didn't even have him making the team. But, he played 45 snaps this past week, and he had a PFF grade of 76.6, which was out of all the Steelers offensive players, it was ranked 10th. So that's not bad. But once again, BJ Finney was ahead of him, and he's kind of pretty even between pass blocking and run blocking, a little bit better with pass blocking. What do you think, bro?
What I'm thinking is isn't it nice after everybody worrying so much about offensive line with the way the guys are playing right now, that when it comes time to cut it down, it's not going to be easy.
It's not going to be easy. They might have to keep 10. So, and now I'm going to give you another thing that kind of blows your mind. If you're looking at, once again, I'm just looking at the PFF grades from this last game. The third ranked player on offense from Thursday night's game, he was released today by the Steelers.
Mm-hmm.
He was released today by the Steelers. That was Brandon Walton was released by the Steelers, which is funny because they listed him as a tackle, but he played guard for him the whole time. All his snaps came at guard, and he had a PFF score of 83.5. So he played well. I'm going to ask you this question because this was something I was almost threw out on the Slack channel. I'm like, the Steelers, they cut their 5 players today because they had to get down to 85 by 4:00. And the players they cut 2 offense, 2 defense, and 1 special teams. So the 2 on offense was wide receiver Isaiah McCoy. Now, wasn't he the guy on the 1 punt return that ran backwards? You remember?
I remember somebody ran backwards. Was that him?
It was him because it was number 17, and I don't think because there was 2 number 17s. So there was Isaiah McCoy, and then there was Brandon Walton. Then on defense, it was Steven Denmark, who I had pegged. That's the only one I got right of trying to predict the 5, but I was pretty certain about him. He didn't even play Thursday, and he had been giving up a lot of touchdowns in practice as a defensive back. And then defensive end Abdullah Anderson, who I thought looked really good in the Hall of Fame game, where he had a sack. He had that one play that he kept, was it DiNucci at the time, that was rolling out on the 4th down that he kept him from being able to run. I'm setting all this up to ask you this question. Do you think that there's a possibility that the Steelers, when they made this cut down, might have had a couple guys that they decided they were going to do right by? Meaning that they're going to say, hey, you're even a guy we would be interested in with the practice squad. I could tell you now it would have to take an awful lot in order for you to make the 53. Would you prefer to be released now and have a chance to jump on if another team contacts you, rather than stick around until final cuts and then have all that go down? I don't know if the Steelers would have said that. I don't know if they were interested in doing that, but those 2 players, Walton and Anderson, were the ones that I really thought was kind of surprising that they were one of the first 5 gone. So do you think that's possible?
Yeah, but the other thing to me that tells you that the Steelers weren't having an easy time of it was Sloman. Not because Sloman's going to make the team, but just another guy to take kicks during practice and games. And that. So
he did all the Hall of Fame game and half of the last game. So that means Chris Boswell's only got a half a game under his belt. 2.5 games, you can get by with that. But I liked how they balanced it out: 2 defense, 2 offense, 1 special teams. Jeff, in his prediction, he had the long snapper going, and I'm like, I'm not doing that. I'm not sold that this isn't a really tight competition with the 2 long snappers, because they keep bringing back Christian Kuntz. He went to Duquesne. He's a former linebacker. I mean, I hate to tell you this, but when you're snapping on punts, you're allowed to release. That's kind of nice to have a linebacker running down the field, if you know what I mean. To help cover punts. And I've noticed him out there on punts, getting down the field to cover.
And I've told you this before, okay? Do you know who the highest paid long snapper in the league is? At least they were last year.
Candidate?
No.
Okay. It was
the long snapper for the Indianapolis Colts. Luke Rhodes.
Okay.
Played linebacker at William and Mary.
William and Mary. Yep, I remember that.
Okay. Yeah, played linebacker at William and Mary. And he got into training camp, and somebody got to talking to him and said, hey, didn't you used to long snap back in high school? You should do that again. Man, what great flexibility to make a team as a long snapper, but technically could be linebacker depth too.
Yeah. Well, I just say it's helpful to have, a guy. Like, I'll be honest with you, the biggest thing that worries me with Canada as the long snapper is he friggin' holds all the time. He just doesn't always get called for it. He that's concerning, that he could get called for a hold so many times, on a field goal or extra point. When, game-winning field goal, line it up, kick it. It's, 44-yarder, 45-yarder. You kick it, it's good. Coming back on a hold for 10 yards. Whew. Tell me that's not brutal. So, and Andrew Wolbar, I was just looking because I was going to say this and I saw the word in the live chat. Other than that, I haven't been paying attention to the live chat. And that is that the Lions cut their long snapper today on his 40th birthday. He had been with the team 17 years. So, but I mean, I'll be honest with you, not your son, but our nephew, I told him, I said, you want to make it to the NFL? I told him this 5 years ago. I said, you want to make it to the NFL? Snap. Seriously. If you could get really good at snapping, you can find yourself a nice career in the NFL, believe it or not. Go undrafted, sign on with the team, try to make it out there. If you can snap well, if you could block with it, if you could cover, that's Every single team needs one. Yeah, you all go. And we saw years ago with James Harrison having to fill in what happens when you don't have a long snapper.
That is correct.
Yes. So we can kind of end up the long snapper talk. We're going to go ahead and take our break here. We're going to come back. We'll discuss the offense a little bit more. We'll break down some other stuff from this Eagles game. Then we're going to start looking ahead to see what's going on with this week coming with the Lions, kind of who we, what do we expect the game plan to be, especially when it comes to playing time and other things like that. And then, of course, we have to do our scores like we always do. So if you're on the audio side, go ahead and click on over to part 2. If you're here with us on YouTube or Facebook, stick around and we'll be back in just a few seconds. Pittsburgh Steelers fans, welcome back to part 2 of the Scho Bro Show. This is behind the steel curtain editor Dave Schofield coming at you. With me, as always, is the Big Bro Scho, my big brother Rich. How are you, Rich?
Doing wonderful tonight.
Okay, we gave our I gave my tribute to Joe Schobert in the first half. I had to get back to being to being the regular person. Okay, so go with the real names. We're breaking down some stuff from the Eagles game. Then we're going to move on to Detroit. Rich, do you remember? We're sitting there, we're watching the game together at your house, listening to Charlie Batch, Bob Pompiani. I don't know if you recall. Do you even know? I don't know if you saw my article or not. How many snaps did the Steelers defense get in the second half of that game?
11
snaps, 0 first downs, -3 total yards. How can you, as much as you want to break down what the players on defense did for the Steelers, like the depth guys, my goodness, they were hardly on the field. 11 snaps, and 2 were interceptions, and 1 was a sack. There's not much else to break down.
Loved it.
Yes, I know exactly what you mean. And I'm going to keep referencing things like the PFF scores, but and just so you know, I say it in almost all my articles. You can take PFF scores with as seriously or as not as seriously as you like. Some people live and die by them. Some people pay no attention to them. I look at them as a starting point, kind of a starting point to say, I thought this player had a good game. What do they think? Oh, they thought they had a pretty good game. I thought this player had a good game. They didn't have him for a very good game. Why? And then I go back and break it down. And I usually feel like I'm right more than they are, but sometimes we really line up, especially when they have somebody like Kevin Dotson tearing it up, because he really did tear it up. Anything else you want to say? Right. We've kind of beat the dead horse here as much as we can. We've talked about making the other lineman better. Anything else you want to say about him before we go on to other ones?
I will say this, as you were talking there about the defense and their whole 11 snaps in the second half, you're saying, man, that's not a whole lot of time or whatever to evaluate some of those guys on. The one thing you can take from that is the guys that were on the field for those 11 plays, all 11 of them must have been doing their jobs and doing them well.
Yeah.
To keep it to 11 plays.
And no first downs.
Correct.
Yeah. No, there were some penalties and stuff in there too. So would just kind of go to show. Real quick, to finish up the offense, the top 5 scores on PFF, I'm just going to read them to you just so you know. Went Kevin Dotson, 94.5. Pete Guerrero, 85.6. And that doesn't even include his best run, which was called back on a penalty. Brandon Walton, who's no longer on the team, 83.5. Number 4, Mason Rudolph, 81.9. Then number 5 was Cody White, 81.8. And if you're wondering, Dwayne Haskins was 6 at 80.5. So real quick, quarterbacks. What do you think from Thursday night?
I didn't think there was a whole lot to complain about from our quarterbacks on Thursday night. Thought they all played really well. Most of them did the things that they are capable of doing. And, there are a lot of people out there like to knock Mason Rudolph or people are either on his side or not on his side. Look, I don't care if they're on the Steelers. I want to see quarterbacks do well. I hated seeing him take that sack. Whose article was it? Was it one of Jeffrey's where they broke that play down?
Mm-hmm.
And who was in at guard at that time?
That's a good question.
I forget who.
I think it might have been Trey Turner.
I think it was Turner because you had Chooks and Green both getting handled on that play, and Turner couldn't make up his mind who to help, so he ends up helping nobody.
Yeah. I will tell you that I'm pretty sure it was also Kevin Dotson was the other guard on that play.
Perhaps.
I think that was one of his first snaps in the game, but he was not responsible for that. Yeah. It was not. When I looked back over is the Turner looked in and out and didn't really help either one of them. And
that was so you know what? I guess it wouldn't have been Chooks. That would have been Haig then.
It was
the right side.
Oh, yeah, on the right side. Yeah, it would have been Haig on the right side.
It was because it was both players on the right. It was the up the middle and then the right tackle. Everything came from that side. Then the other thing was, people don't like it, and I know that's why some people really like Haskins because his ability to not necessarily run but move the pocket and really,
there was nothing you could do on that one. It came right up the middle. Some people were like, Mason could have got out of there. I was like, with the speed that thing came up the middle, there wasn't time to get out of there. It was he either had to land on that last foot and throw it right away, or he was going to get sacked. Exactly. So, real quick, I was just going to throw it out there. The bottom 5 scores on offense, just to do it. There was a tie for the bottom from number 5. This isn't the worst. This is, counting down to the worst at 51.5 between Josh Dobbs and Trey Turner both had scores of 51.5. Then it went tackle Aviante Collins with a 47.5, Marcus Ball, the tight end, with 43.7. I actually predicted both of them to get cut, but I think they'll be around for a little bit, but not, I don't think they're going to make the 53. Pat Freiermuth did not have a very good score. He had a 43.3, and then the worst was Chukwuekwor at 42.6.
Which I find funny because anybody, if you haven't been to the website today, Behind the Steel Curtain.com, your one-stop shop for all things Pittsburgh Steelers.
Yes.
You need to go in there and check out the article that KT Smith, who is the artist formerly known as Chris Harris is still a punk, and Cliff Harris is still a punk, and or Chizap, was doing a great breakdown of the Dotson, Dan Moore, but also was including Freiermuth in this, and actually Freiermuth on several of those run plays. His blocking was solid.
Yes, we talked about this. I thought he struggled early and then did better.
Correct.
As the game went on. So
yes.
I was kind of surprised a little bit by those stuff. Real quick, because we've talked about this game a lot, we do want to talk about the next one a little bit. Yep. Defense. Other than as a whole, it all standing out pretty good. And especially the second half. Anyone in particular that really caught your eye on defense?
No, you got to go with the guys that got picks.
Yeah, because I will say Lafayette Pitts had the highest overall PFF score of the whole team. He had a 97.2.
He played well the other night.
He had 7 snaps.
Not just
that's the thing.
Right. But he got the pick, but you saw him in other, in and around other plays as well. So
I think this is his 4th year in the NFL or 5th. I think he started to bounce around in 2000. I think it was 2017, if I'm not mistaken. That I think that he is how long it's been since he's been out. It might even be more. I think. Holy cow! I'm looking it up. It's 2016. 2016 is he played 8 games for the Dolphins. So yeah, so he's kind of bounced around the league a little bit. So it's not like he doesn't know what he's doing. So that's pretty interesting. I'd like to see, is he someone, if he gets a few more snaps? I mean, if he makes it past the next round of cuts, I'd like to see him play a lot in the final preseason game. But yeah, Justin Lane, he had the third best grade. Believe it or not, the second best grade, it was only 11 snaps, all in the second half. I'm pretty sure they were on the second half. Was Quincy Roche.
Yep, I was gonna say he was another one. He was he was around the ball almost. I mean, on every run play he was in the game. I mean, there weren't many, but he was at the ball every time.
Yeah, and then after him was Isaiah Loudermilk. I thought he had a pretty good game. He split a sack, right? Or did he? Yeah, I think he split one of the sacks. And he also had a pass defense because he knocked one down. So he was number 4. And believe it or not, number 5 was a player I had to ask with the preview. I'm like, did he get to see the field? Because the defense was off there so little. Only had 7 snaps, but Buddy Johnson was another one that was up there. So, and he was honestly the only inside linebacker that scored anywhere other than the bottom. Simply because like in the bottom 5, it went Buggs, Spillane, Allen, Gilbert, and Bush in that order. But Jeffrey Benedict brought up something very important, I think, when it comes to judging the inside linebackers for the Steelers. They are not putting them in a very good situation with the vanilla defenses they're playing.
Correct.
They are doing they're hanging them out to dry with a lot of stuff, especially in coverage and things like that, because, maybe the Steelers want other teams to think they can get their wide receivers or somebody matched up on an inside linebacker that maybe then they'll scheme around. They're getting no help from the safeties really, except for, really deep safeties with some of the stuff that he mentioned. Sorry, when I look at defense, I'm looking more at run defense and
cover one. A lot of deep cover one was going on by the Steelers.
Yeah.
Just not a lot, no extra help anywhere in that middle part of the field for the linebackers trying to cover backs and tight ends.
Yeah, exactly. So I feel like part of that is, but what's funny is then Buddy Johnson has a decent score, but I don't even know who was out there with him as the other inside linebacker when he was out there. I don't know if it was Allen or Gilbert. I'm not even sure. It could have been, did Bundage even play? I'm not even sure.
I don't know if Bundage played.
Bundage played 3 snaps,
I think Allen was out there a little bit with him.
Yeah. So I know
there was at least one play it was.
Yeah. Yeah. So I would say the biggest thing on the defense was, there was a couple plays. It's funny. Jeff Hartman brought this up. I still didn't notice it. It was concerning with Cam Sutton. He didn't have a very good score. He had a poor tackling score, believe it or not, which brought him down. But his he kind of looked like he got burnt on that play, but they didn't connect. He was right with him when that ball went up, and that guy's fast. But Jeff pointed out the Steelers only had 10 players on the field for that play.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't realize that. Now you're saying it kind of depends on who the 11th guy was. If he's someone who's supposed to, be offering, deep help over the top like that was, then that's a big deal. But I'm not sure who was missing, what their responsibilities would have been. But it is something to consider there. And then I know, there was the one touchdown that just it was the only touchdown the Steelers gave up, and it was ugly, and it had to be to Flacco. My goodness, come on.
Yeah.
You're better than that, Steelers. But so there's some question marks, but I'm telling you, I'm still a little concerned before we move on here real quick. I'm concerned that the Steelers have only scored 7 points in the first half of their 2 preseason games, and that they're just dominating the second half, because I want to see the other guys, granted, they only gave up 3 points in the first half in the Hall of Fame game, and they gave up 16 in the first half of this game. So, but then they've given up none in the second half in either game. So I'd kind of like to see more from the first group, if you know what I'm saying. Which
I know you're saying the first group, but even the first group on offense and defense isn't what's probably going to be our regular first groups.
Yeah. Even the first group wasn't exactly the first group. So, but that leads into this week. With the exception of, maybe Chase Claypool now because of things, I think we're going to see the guys out there Saturday night for at least the first half of the first quarter, but I would hope for at least the entire first quarter. Don't know how long Ben Roethlisberger will play, but he's playing. And
2 series. That's
you
my
think
prediction.
2?
Yep.
I think it depends on what happens. If the Steelers have a 10 or more play drive for a touchdown, you might not even see
it'll just be
series.
one. Yep.
If it's 2, 3 and outs, you might see him a third one.
That's true.
I think you'll see Ben.
I think it's more for him about number of snaps, not necessarily series.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I think you are looking at Ben Roethlisberger from anywhere from 10 to 18 snaps. If the Steelers do what they typically do with the preseason, treating this as their third game. So this is some interesting stuff. But I want to see this offensive line group together to see if we can expect, get a better expectation for the regular season. Do you think they switch Joe Haeg and put him on the left and more on the right and just keep the same two out there together, or what? I don't know. That'll be interesting to see.
Be very interesting to see.
But at the same time, don't do what some Steelers fans do that, like, I don't like the preseason. I'll watch, half the game whenever Ben Roethlisberger plays. Stick around and see what these other guys are doing, especially this offensive line, because if the other ones aren't getting it done, you might to see some more of those creep up in there. But we don't know that they aren't getting it done because they haven't played together yet. So that's what we want to see more on Saturday. What else what do you want to see Saturday? Anything, we're still not going to see Stephon Tuitt. We're still not going to see TJ Watt. Neither one of them are practicing. I think we'll see some Cam and Tyson Alualu. Other than that, what do you think?
I think we should put Sapphire in it.
Put Sapphire right guard. Yeah, I'll bring it up real quick.
That's awesome stuff.
Yeah, Dennis, good to see Dennis back here in the live chat. He put $1 in there. Dennis,
he asked a question then.
Did he? I was going to say, let me see the next one. I'll bring it up there.
Yep, there it is.
How many INTs will Ben throw? If he's talking about Saturday, what do you think?
Against Detroit? None.
Yeah, I don't know that he will. He might. I mean, who knows? Maybe he'll try to push it somewhere and end up throwing one. I don't know. If he throws a pick on one of the first 2 series, then I think you'd see him in the third one. I don't think that he'll want to end on an interception.
Right.
So if you're saying Saturday, I'm going to say, see, that's tough when you say, if you set the line at 0.5, I'll still go statistically, I will say under, but I wouldn't be shocked if it was 1. So it really depends. I'd love to see Ben coming out there like he's going to throw and just hand it to Najee, because we didn't even mention Najee and his great runs that kept getting called back. My favorite was the 6-yard gain when he got a yard deep in the backfield. Yeah.
Gets hit at the line and still picks up 6 yards. Then there was the other one that was nice to see, was hit. I think it was 2 yards down the field. He was hit, still gets 6 yards. Yeah.
I mean, he had some, even if it was on the penalties, I don't know, because he only had 2 carries for 10 yards. Because he had a 6 and a 4 that counted, and he had a 10 and a 6 that didn't count. And he had I'm pretty sure it was a 9-yard reception. I like that they're getting him work, but they're not overworking him. So it's
getting him up to see what he can do and get him comfortable on the field and with the line a little bit, but not too much, because he's going to get plenty of touches in the regular season, and we need him to last.
Exactly. Now, it's funny because even Dennis said again, he's like, I'd like to see the offense concentrate in the run. Let Ben rest his ancient arm. If you're talking about Saturday, you're going to see Ben throwing the ball Saturday, because if he's not going to get much, I don't know if he'll play the next week. He's going to be out there throwing it some. But honestly, what's going to protect him more if he goes to throw when they hand it off? So
I'm gonna pull up another one here because I thought about this watching the game the other night. Then Tyler W says Najee has great inside vision that I didn't appreciate.
Yeah,
like Najee's really good at seeing holes as they develop, not needing to see them totally develop before he hits them.
That is a really great point. That is a really great point with that. And bottom line is, I mean, if the offensive line can get him 2 yards, I think he'll get at least 3 more on his own.
Yeah.
I mean, if that's what they can do. So, see what Green can do at center, run behind good old number 69, because I tell you, just watching last Thursday, there's a lot to be excited about with Kevin Dotson. So we'll see how it goes. So, Rich, anything else you want to do before we get rolling on to how we finished up here?
It's going to be exciting to see fans back at the stadium.
Yes.
That's going to be nice. Unfortunately, I'm not going to be at the stadium.
I will not.
However, my wife and daughter are going to be at the stadium. They're going up for the game using our tickets. So
yes.
They are hoping to go up and enjoy themselves. And, was a little bit of a bummer yesterday to see what the Steelers are saying about masks, but actually I kind of like how they have it. You can be on the concourse. You don't have to have the mask on. They're asking if you're not vaccinated. They're not checking, but saying, hey, if you're not vaccinated, you should follow what the CDC says. Wear your mask.
Mm-hmm.
But going into the pro shops and the restrooms and
closed spaces,
closed off spaces, wear the mask.
Yeah, just I understand exactly what you mean. I know some people. There you go, Steeler Chick.
Thank you, Steeler Chick.
So gals enjoying the game. Yep.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I'm not able to go because it's my youngest son's birthday this weekend. So I was told to don't plan. I would have loved to have taken my daughter. Actually thought I had it all set up that Mr. Brian Anthony Davis was going to be going to my place, and then he had something change on him at the last minute. So got a friend of my brother-in-law who I share the tickets with. It's actually going in place of that. But I can't wait to get back there with everything. It's just I can't wait on TV to see Heinz Field. I'd love to say a capacity, but it's the preseason, so I know we're not going to see that.
It's going to be a capacity. There's going to be
more than we saw
noise. It's going to be people there, and it's going to be noise that's not just piped into your television set.
Exactly. And it's going to be any way this preseason game is going to be much more real. Yeah, Dennis says he'll go. Yeah, I'm on. I was going to, if something happened with the tickets, we were going to see what we were going to do with them. But it was actually my brother-in-law's year to have the preseason game since there was only one. Now I lost my train of thought. It's going to be a more real setting in this preseason game than what the Steelers had all last year at Heinz Field. So that's what's going to be really nice. So, Rich, we got to get down to it. I know it's a meaningless preseason game. Before we do, I've got to throw it out there because 24-16, I'm like, that sounded familiar. So I went back. I checked the tape. I thought we had one last week, and we did. I didn't check the first week because 16-3 was kind of not as expected as much. Yeah. If someone had that from the Hall of Fame game, please call me out. I didn't go back and check that one, but we had a 24-16 from last week. That was my buddy Chris Rudisill, who was in the live chat last week. He got the score right. Yes, he did. He did 24-16. There was a lot of people close. There was a lot of let's see. I think there was some. I think 16 is what got a lot of people. I think there was a lot of 24-17s, if I recall right. There was a lot of people that were only off one digit on one of the scores. That's actually a lot. I'm going to have to be doing that more. Let's go back and check to see if anyone gets those scores. So everyone's waiting. They're not going to put them out there yet because they know better. They're not going to get scolded. But I'll ask you, then I'll answer. And when I type it in the chat that you all see come up on both YouTube and Facebook, then we will come out. Hey, you know what? I see some names coming out here, but they're people that might be new to the live chat. I will not bring it up until it comes up where I actually put it in the live chat. So, Rich, what's your score for Saturday night at Heinz Field?
Saturday night at Heinz Field. Steelers, 27. Lions, 10.
27-10. Which is very funny because that's very, very similar to mine. Are you ready for mine?
Sure.
I am going 28-9.
Okay.
We will see some field goals, but they're going to be all by Detroit. Keep them out of the touchdown zone. Don't overwork Boswell. Just let them kick extra points. So that's what I'm going with. And it is now entered in the live chat. So people, I know they have them ready. They're going to be ready to go. Dennis jumped the gun just a little bit. You're going to have to type it in, Dennis. I got to follow my rule. Wow, did they come flying? Wow. Holy cow. Okay. So we got Christopher 11, 30-7 Steelers. And all these, we assume you mean Steelers unless you say otherwise. Okay. Andrew Wilbar still has some stuff going there. 20-17. He lives in Michigan, so I think that's why he can say things about the. That says
Goffles.
Yeah,
Steelers 20, Goffles 17.
We'll go with that. Okay. Sean Manahan says 40-13 Steelers. Okay. Kriakis has 17-6. Wes has 26-12. Brian Brown has 34-6. Okay. BF Bud, who is actually going to the Browns game, sitting in my seats. That is correct. Hey, I still have the Bears and the what do I have? I have the Bears and the Titans I still have left. But Bud's he's going to the Browns. He's already got tickets transferred and everything. He's got 34-13 Steelers.
Well, while you were plugging yours, I've still got 2 out of 3 games that I'm up to letting go. I've got Bengals, Broncos, Browns.
Okay, but you can give up 2 of them, but not all of them. But so
I won't be giving up all 3 of them, but I will give up 2 of them.
Yep. So there you go. So here we go. We've got Steeler Chick 46, 28-10. Very close to mine. Mine was 28-9. Dusk Thunder, 17-14. Oh, with a close one. Okay, Steelers Pittsburgh says 24-3 Steelers. Okay, Reginald Rivers, 27-13. Michael O'Malley, 27-9. Captain Underpants, 26-13. Kyle. Okay, 24-10. Mark Tobin has 24-10. Richard Adamson, I think that, okay. Has 21-17. There we go. There's our buddy, Jerry Cherry Band. Make sure you listen to the audio podcast. Check out his music, or you could just go to his YouTube channel and check it out there too. Steelers 24-16. You're going with the same scores last week. I love it. 24-16. Okay. Small Ben 7. There he did. He wrote it
back around. Yes, thank you, Small Ben 7, for coming back around.
27-10. Okay. Brian Blackstock has 31-17 Steelers. There we go. Awesome stuff. 27-18. Is that 6 field goals? I don't know how you get there. Maybe it's a couple miss. I don't know. George Teston has 27-13. Brick Quest 17-6 with the Lego guy. Love it. That's a good one. Okay. Did Dennis ever type his in again? Because just making sure if he did or not.
I don't know, but he says at his age, if he doesn't jump, he'll miss it. So
hopefully he still gets it in there. Okay. Bert has 17-10 coming from Hawaii. Okay. Thomas says 63-3. That would be a fun game. Michael, I'm not even going to try it. You want to try it?
Galtieri.
There you go. We'll go with it. 28-24 Steelers. Okay. 24. Oh, sorry, 24. Okay. Tyler W says 22-10. Steelers convert a 2-point conversion. That's how he gets 22. Okay. Todd Fagley says 27-3. Kathy Forid There's our buddy Kathy says 24-13 Steelers. Tate Boys, 31-16. Money Bags. Man, we got a lot of these tonight. 24-13. Kevin Osborne. Did I say that right? Yeah. 33-6. Shane Van Hayden, 20-13 Steelers. Okay. Now some people are commenting on other ones. I like it. Already got that one. Oh yeah, because BF Buddy said about the Bengals game. We got to talk about that. I got to get back to him. That's on me. Okay, sorry, bud. I'll catch you later. Wow, I missed some. Where we go? Kyle Smith, 21-6.
There you go. Good one.
Okay. David Poe, 30-9. Greg W, 27-6. Okay. You're welcome, Jerry Cherry. Felicia. Hey, Felicia.
Hey, Felicia.
17-6. Okay. Vodka drinker, 3-0.
Sounds like vodka drinkers had a few tonight.
Yeah. Dennis said, no, I don't want it on the record. There you go. Faceless Man says 31-10. Here we go. Still looking. I love that then the conversation just goes on with everybody. Okay. Oh, yeah. So, and that's the last one that I see. So now I got to go all the way back.
I don't see any more either. So.
All right. So there we go. Good ones. Lots of great scores. A lot of people want to see the Steelers victory. I do as well. What's interesting is, the Steelers played the Hall of Fame game, but their other three matchups, I'm pretty sure they're going up against teams that have new starting quarterbacks this year. And technically you can say the Cowboys kind of do because their regular starter, who wasn't there, didn't play very many games last year. So they're going up against a lot of those teams. You want to say something, Rich?
You know what I'm interested, you were asking me what I'm interested to see on Saturday night.
Yeah.
I'm interested to see the newest Scho Bro out there on defense in the middle. See what he brings. So
see what he brings.
He's already a bro. His last name starts the same as ours, so he belongs here.
He's adopted. Now all he has to do is come on the show with us because we're ready for it. I had two more come up late. Okay, Mark Whale, we'll say that. Martin, I'll leave it at that.
Gucci Williams.
Hopefully I got it right. Sorry, Mark Whale, if I did not get that right. 27-13, and then George OTJ says 27-14. So some great scores, some great times tonight. I tell you, I'm really excited about some of the second half. I mean, that second half performance against the Eagles, Rich. We didn't get to see big press punt because the offense never, they had one turnover, but other than that, it was all scoring drives or taking a knee. They could have punched it in for another touchdown at the end, but they didn't. They could have gone 31-16, but they didn't. They kept it with the 24. The defense, 11 snaps. There's not much more you can ask for when you look at that. Let's see it the whole way through. Don't you think so?
I think so.
Yeah. So hopefully that's what's going to happen. Anything else you want to say before we close out here?
I don't know. Is it time yet, or you got something?
It is time because guess what? We're going to have fans at Heinz Field Saturday night.
That's right. Can't wait.